Warning: the following program is a satirical look at Indigenous news, politics, and current events. Long pantses is advised.
Anin, bonjour, and welcome to The Laughing Drum. I am your host, Tim Fontaine, back for another episode of whatever the heck this show is supposed to be. And what a show it is! TV's biggest and brownest team of pundits, the Red Power panel, is standing by, ready to tear into the week's hottest headlines like bannock, fresh from Cookham's oven. This week, the Red Power panel is, well, actually joining the Red Power panel once again is Dawn Lavan. Do not adjust your screens. Elvis really is that brown. Jerry the Big Bear Barrett is here.
The brown Elvis.
The brown Elvis. And from the Couchiching First Nation and beyond, Issa Kixon is here. Welcome to you all.
Which?
All right, we begin in NIMBY news. That is not in my backyard news. And a bunch of Scarborough residents, that's in Ontario, near Toronto, who are trying to say nope to a proposed Indigenous healing lodge in their neighborhood. It's related to crime, and I don't want the crime rate to go up in my neighborhood, said one resident. He even added, and you're going to love this, we are not even being consulted. I'm just upset. And we were not even told it was coming until the very end of this project. That must be terrible.
What's it like? When it's your first time?
Red Power panel, based on the laughter. This is quite the topic. Let's start with you, Issa.
Oh, hold on. I got to wipe away those tears. That's good. You guys are good. It's a good one. Geez, where do I even start with this one? So, not in my backyard. They don't want what they believe to be a potentially dangerous facility around their children, right? But they have churches.
Almost every street corner.
There's probably convenience stores. Those are pretty, sugar isn't good for kids. So where's the outrage there? And the consultation. Now, let me take you way back. Way back. How's that feel?
That's the base of consultation.
Yeah.
There, you've been consulted.
Dawn, welcome back to the show. What do you make of this story?
I don't know. It kind of makes me think, if only healing was a crime. Because it wasn't it?
Probably.
Yeah, for Indigenous people, it hasn't been that long since our culture and practices have not been illegal.
Yes.
So thank you for decriminalizing sweat lodges. And I hope they happen in more backyards. Seriously.
Right. Jerome?
Well, I took the time to Google map the neighborhood in Scarborough where this proposed healing lodge for people that are trying to heal. Yes. They've already gone through the process of the jail time and the counseling, and now they want to heal. So it's not going to be like they're running down the streets with going crazy in the neighborhood. We'll leave that for the two bars that are in the same neighborhood as this healing lodge is supposed to be at. There's also a 24-hour Tim Hortons down the street, so who knows who's going to wander in there in the middle of the night. They also have two nursing homes. Heaven forbid the elderly go insane on their meds and start handing out cookies to people in the neighborhood. We wouldn't want that to happen. Sushi, there's a sushi bar down there as well, so I don't know. It sounds like... And I looked, it's not
sushi.
So anyway, there's lots going on, and there's a school, of course. So there's lots going on there. And the healing lodge is for women who are there to. It's like Winnipeg. We wanted to open. Well, they did. We have several urban reserves. And in Winnipeg, oh my God, here come the Indians. There's going to be res dogs running around in dirty diapers blowing down the sidewalk. We can't have that. Well, that's not going to happen. It's a healing lodge. Everybody just calm the freak down. Let the healing begin, damn it.
There was an old guy that said he was going to move if the healing lodge was
into the nursing home across the street.
Yes, do you have a message?
If only more people were encouraged to move off those pieces of land,
Then you have an
due to
even
healing
bigger
lodges
setback.
Then the healing
Yes.
can truly begin.
Dang. Is that how reconciliation is supposed to look? Reconciliation is supposed to look? Like, you're going to put a sweat lodge right
Well,
here,
this is what I said.
and then all the people scurry away. I was like, oh, let the healing begin.
Let the healing begin.
Yeah, how can reconciliation happen if this is still going on? And this is what I've said on this show so many darn times, that the people in downtown Toronto, Scarborough, don't know about reconciliation. They don't know the cultural issues that have happened to us. They don't know about the healing and all the issues that Indigenous people have suffered over the decades. And this is a prime example.
Yeah.
Just another day being brown.
Apparently, a lot of the people that are going to be in that center are actually from Scarborough. They're not even bringing people in from outside, which is one of the concerns, at least according to one article that I read.
Well, no wonder. Look what Scarborough's done to them. Down to the point where they need healing.
The circle of life is going on in
Exactly.
Scarborough there. All of the harm gets caused, and they have a place to go and heal. All right, guys. Where does this put us on our completely scientific reconciliometer?
Can we just flip Justin Trudeau upside down?
That's not even Justin Trudeau.
It's
Although
like,
it looks
it's
like
a-
him, I
Is
guess.
it stand-in? Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's,
That's fine.
that's not actually Perry Bellegarde there either.
Okay.
Oh, shocked.
I don't know. Can we put that in?
Can we make that color yellow for low instead of high?
You know what? We've never
Like-
actually even determined what low or high
hero.
reconciliation means. We just go back and forth.
I
on
feel
it.
like, okay, here it is. In our terms, like in Indigenous terms, that is super low.
Super low. Yeah.
But in colonizer terms, that is
extreme.
extreme.
We spoke about Indigenous
That is
people
extreme.
and their issues, and we mentioned the word healing,
Yeah.
and then we
Oh,
also brought it back to the reality of crime.
Off the charts.
We use the word consultation.
They didn't do it for us, like they didn't do it for them, and that's outrageous that they wouldn't do it for us, because we're not them.
Because we're not them. All right, guys, we've got to take a short break. Don't go away, or you're going to miss all the consultation. All right, welcome back to the Laughing Drum, my friends. Television so incredibly Indigenous, Doug Ford keeps trying to cut our funding. I am here with TV's loudest and brownest team of pundits, the Red Power panel. Let's get down with our second topic of the night. Crappy polls in the media who love them. After the MMIWG inquiry released its final report and a finding that the issue constitutes genocide, the old white men majority that run Canadian media had a heyday running denial op-eds. We talked about that in the last episode, you remember? But several publications also ran polls asking the public whether they believed MMIWG is genocide, which to me is a bit like asking the child whether they want a piece of candy or a root canal. What do you think they're going to choose? Is this irresponsible? Red Power panel, what do you think?
Mm-hmm. It absolutely is irresponsible. It's almost similar to the early Nazi rallies, where if you didn't go with your community to the Nazi rally, then you outed yourself.
I see.
Strong
I
words.
feel so alone.
Jerry, what do you think?
Well, I've said this 1,000 times. It's all about money, and I think the advertisers are going to go with the research people that have polls that indicate it would be either safe for them to work around whatever result they've had of these polls being taken. But and I think there's only several polls really that Canadian media outlets use. So I think it's a pretty safe world for them to be in. And who knows who's making the decisions? But it's all about advertising, right? If your newscasts are going to be edgy and controversial and against Indigenous people, then your advertisers, you might get more advertisers,
Yeah.
or you might get less. So I think the media outlets are going to play it safe when it comes to the polls.
Is a
I would like to take a poll. Now, if I may, I would like to take a poll of how many Indigenous people think that maybe colonizers need to go back to their original colonizing lands.
That's racist.
Oh, is that racist?
That's racist.
Is that antagonizing?
But that's sort of the. I mean, that's sort of this.
It is in the same vein of these polls that are. We've already established the facts. The fact is this is genocide, and now we're having people like news publications that are going around saying, well, even though we have the facts, do you still think it's genocide in your opinion? This isn't an opinion.
Does it feel like genocide to you,
This is people's lives.
I guess that's what it is. Yeah, I mean, it's. Does this feel like it? Because if you have, I mean, if it's raining outside, you don't run a poll saying, "Is that rain?" or does it just feel
Climate
like rain?
change.
Because like when Don mentioned Nazi Germany, during that time, people said that it didn't feel like genocide at the time because of the fashion in which it was happening. Now, if you look at the history of Canada, maybe maybe we don't have the concentration camps, but we have
Reserves?
We have reserves. We have women, Two-Spirit people who are going missing at an extremely high rate. And we have, the loss of culture, livelihood, land, rights. That is genocide. And it doesn't matter, how many pretty bows you put on it. It's still genocide.
I liked how we had a cultural genocide when the TRC came out. So, that's not full genocide. It's only cultural one, just their language and, their spirituality and, their clothing, what makes them who they are. Cultural genocide. But the human's still here. Then we have racial genocide, which is so how many genocides does it take to make one full genocide? I feel like that is a math crisis that should be brought to everyone's attention.
It's like the infinity stones of genocide. like Justin Trudeau has his...
the white paper gauntlet.
Okay, I may have gone too far.
Well, I find these polls are conducted by research groups that...
Some of them are just like an app that the newspaper
Well, this is what I'm about to say, is that there's no real scientific... other than that we phoned 600 people and 25 people said this. But you don't know if the people are drunk on the other end, they're stoned, both, if they're racist, if they're not racist, if they're who knows what.
And they're not, from my understanding, they're not random calls. Like these are people that have
somebody
like
could call me when I'm drunk and stoned and ask me about genocide, and I will still be able to say, yes. Have you read the facts? The facts
well, that's
are
the interesting
yes.
thing, though, is that this one, the latest poll that I saw, which is one that the Canadian press reported on and a lot of outlets ran, was that the majority of Canadians agree that it was genocide. And that was a scientific poll. But it goes back to I don't think they ask, but I would wager that the vast majority have not read the report. They have not read why they have come to that decision, right? And I think that's the dangerous thing, is you're asking people how they feel about something that they have no real authority on, right? And it's, I don't know. But so let's go back to the media then. When you see things like this, how does that make you feel about the media? Do you see yourself in the media? Do you trust Canadian media right now?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, we're on this show, which is technically media.
Yeah.
We all have social media, which we use to stay connected or to promote ourselves. But do I trust Canadian media? Absolutely not.
Yeah. And especially working in broadcasting for a career, I noticed that when the ratings came in for your favorite radio station, what would happen is, we're number one, they would say. but they're not really number one. They were number one maybe in a quarter hour with dogs. Dogs like deer, perk up their ears.
Well, they can interpret it.
So they reinterpret it, and they change the numbers around to suit their own interests. So who knows what the hell's going on with the major polling researchers across the country, and whether or not the results are actually true. That being said, I did go on the Association for Canadian Studies and looked at the questions and looked at how they broke it down, and there's a lot of reading on there.
Yeah.
But the questions are very detailed, and I honestly, I don't believe that your average Canadian would take the time to go through a detailed survey like that, read the questions, interpret them, and then come up with an answer. Because there was a lot of people that said, "I don't have an opinion.
Yeah.
I'd rather not. I'd rather not say."
I'd rather not say. I have knowledge, but I'd rather I would rather not share my knowledge.
Keep it to yourself.
All right. You're going to keep that to yourselves. We have to take a short break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about the state of Two-Spirit people. Don't go away. We'll track you down and beg you to return with tears in our eyes.
Did you know we got the social medias?
Don't lie.
It's true. Like the Laughing Drum on Facebook and follow us on Twitter right now.
I'm going to miss that promo. Welcome back to the show, my friends. This is the Laughing Drum television, so exquisitely indigenous. Wolves dance with us, and we are the last of the Mohicans. Enough of that nonsense. It is Pride Month in Canada. It's a time where gay, lesbian, bi, trans, questioning, and everything in between identities reflect on the struggles they have faced and continue to face. So what better time to discuss the state of Two-Spirit people? So, Red Power panel, let's talk Pride and Two-Spirit people.
Very good.
Sweet.
Yeah. Where are we at? What's the lay of the land there?
We are at a very pivotal point in history, where younger and younger people are coming out of the closet, and for a good majority of them, we have, they're met with open arms and with a welcoming community. But then we also have, it is a social media age, so we have younger people who are coming out of the closet, and even though they have the support of, like their family, friends, or their community, they're still, we still have people who are, online bullied, parents who are being accused of child abuse if they support their queer children. So it's, I'd like to say that it's getting better, but I'm just finding that homophobes are getting more and more creative.
Do you think that has to do with social media, or is that?
I think it has to do with social media and the fact that people are actively choosing to be ignorant. And there's a huge difference between people who are ignorant, so people who have no access to information, have no access to, to learning or, being taught. But now we're having people who are actively choosing not to learn or to accept about Two-Spirit people.
Don, where do you think we're at?
I'd just like to say we're fabulous. And
That too.
y'all can keep on working on yourselves, okay? Yes, it's a personal journey. Yeah. And the chosen ignorance thing, I support that. Because we do live in a day and age of knowledge being readily available at our fingertips.
Yep.
And it's almost like a new level of privileges, or new taking of privileges, the not having to learn about things if you don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to learn about that. Aw, ew.
Well, I find, I do a lot of shows on First Nation communities, remote communities, and where the internet sometimes really isn't readily available to everyone. And I'm, for the most part, a Two-Spirit person will meet me when I'm doing sound check or whatever during the show, and ask, I give out silk scarves and stuff for my Elvis show, and sometimes I'm wondering, are they getting enough, like a young student, are they getting enough information about the Two-Spirit world, or are they are they getting, feeling comfortable with themselves and able to, come out to the community? For the most part, I find that true. I find that, so like I'll have a Two-Spirit person come up to me, and I don't know if they're trying to intimidate me, but they're flirting with me and they're having fun with me, and I'm busy with my the technical part of the show, and then when actual showtime, I come out dressed like this, and I'm very flamboyant, and I've got on my powder blue suits and a silk scarf, and I got on more makeup than most drag queens have, trying to make myself look, all sexy and stuff. So it's I just find that I feel more like a drag queen when I'm out there performing. And then after the show, that same person might come up and they'll ask, do you have a kiss for me? Of course I do. Yeah. Whoever, scarf, kiss, whatever. I don't discriminate. I think wherever I am.
I think we're all a little Two-Spirit,
But I was going to ask, because when I first asked you that question, I think you were speaking generally about society, but what about Indigenous communities? How welcoming do you think? I mean, Jerry says he sees it when he's in communities. How like whether it's urban or rural, how welcoming do you think they are?
I think it depends on the community and how colonized that community is and how much Christianity has affected them. Because I know for myself. And another prominent Two-Spirit person being Levi Foy, a.k.a. Prairie Sky. Both our community, Couchiching, is very accepting of us. So I think it depends, and I think now that we have prominent people and we have elders, like Two-Spirit elders who are, taking the lead and taking the charge, that there is a lot more acceptance, because when I was growing up, it was a lot of people, being like, oh, no homo, or, like, I hope you're not gay because you act pretty gay, type of stuff. So from my upbringing compared to how it is now, I do see a lot of change, and I do see a lot of positive change, especially as a parent who's raising a Two-Spirit child. I do see a lot of, we still have a long way to go, but I do see like that ray of sunlight.
And yes, there is positive change, but also at the same time too, there's that divide in communities between traditional and Christian indoctrinated. And then there's also, sometimes they're alone when they come out in their community, so there isn't a community for them in their community. And then trying to encourage them to, find those communities, that is also difficult too, because I read somewhere that to live out openly is to choose happiness over safety. And that's the truth, and that's the reality that we're still at, and that hopefully one day human beings will evolve to a point of accepting difference, and that will be okay.
Well, you get the last word, because that's all the heckin' time we have for this heckin' show. Thank you both, all of you, for sharing. Difficult topic sometimes to talk about. Thanks to the crew, though, for making us look good while we did it. The Red Power panel, thank you guys again. And thanks to you, our dozens of viewers, for tuning in. We'll see you back here next Tuesday. Good night!